Has been pumped up yet further. It is time for a full live commentary. Lazio against Celtic here on Sportsound on BBC Radio Scotland with James McFadden and Liam McLeod.
It's do or die time for Celtic. They must win. They might need to win by more than one goal, depending on their ambition levels for what's left of their European season. Well, unfortunately, before the two sets of players made their way out into this yawning, gaping arena, there were flares being thrown between supporters off to our right. It does appear as though it's been coming from both ends, so we will keep an eye on that. But it was a pretty ugly scene, to be honest with you. These lit flares are being lobbed over the fence, which is segregating the two sets of supporters. But we are here in the Olympico, and what an arena it is, what a historic arena it is. The scene of the European Championship finals in '68 and '80, the World Cup final in 1990, and no fewer than 4 European Cup finals, 77, 84, and then under the Champions League banner in 96 and 2009, as Celtic look to repeat the trick from 4 years ago, when they produced a magnificent come-from-behind 2-1 victory that saw them through to the two of the Europa League. James Forrest down below us, making his way to join his teammates in the pre-match huddle once the two skippers have gone through their pre-match routine with the referee. And Luis Alberto down there, the Spaniard, with the skipper's armband on this evening, with Ciro Immobile on the bench for Lazio. And Celtic, first and foremost, need to just win this game, pick up 3 points, win their third ever away match in the Champions League. And they could potentially have a shootout with Feyenoord in a couple of weeks' time, but it also depends on what's happening in De Kuip this evening. Feyenoord hosting Atletico Madrid. Anything other than a victory and Celtic are out of Europe altogether this evening. The Celtic players in the huddle now: Hart in goal, Johnston, Carter-Vickers, Scales and Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor, Bernardo, who's preferred to Turnbull, and it's Forrest and Yang supporting Kyogo. Provedel in goal for Lazio, Lazzari, Patrick, Hila and Marisic at the back, Rovella, Guendouzi and Luis Alberto across the middle, with Anderson and Isaacs in either side of Tati Castellanos, who once upon a time scored 4 goals in one game against Real Madrid. It wasn't that long ago either. He was on loan at Girona in Spain last season, in a 4-2 when he got all 4 against Los Blancos. Celtic will kick off. They're going to go right to left, as they did 4 years ago in the first half, defending the goal that Olivier Ncham found the net of late on in their all-black kit with the white flashes. Celtic in the game underway. Lazio in their traditional famous light blue shirts, white shorts and socks, and it's with Carter-Vickers picking up midway inside his own half, slipping it to his left for Scales, and he turns it out to Taylor, who goes long looking for James Forrest, but it'll be covered there by Patrick, the two Spanish centre-backs for the Italians this evening. Provedel's put it straight into touch on this near side, but I think the flag had gone up. In any case, Maurizio Sarri, the Lazio coach, sitting down in his technical area in his dugout, taking some notes, glasses on top of his head, as he tries to mastermind Lazio's place in the last 16 of the Champions League. And they're eyeing up winning the group as well. Much will depend on what Atletico do over the last couple of match days, if that dream is to become a reality for Rome's blue and white. James McFadden watching this one in the Olympico.
Yeah, and I think Sarri might be scribbling out James Forrest on the right-hand side and Yang on the left and swapping them over, because that's the way they've lined up. I thought it'd be Forrest on the right and Yang on the left, but it's not. And watching even Celtic for the start, they move the ball round the back. The position Paulo Bernardo and Matt O'Reilly is to try and get behind that Lazio midfield press, and Celtic are obviously going to be really brave on the ball here and try and, you know, break those lines. But in doing that, you take a big risk in losing the ball and your midfield being the wrong side of it. But it shows you their intent to go and start fast and try and, you know, get that lead and put Lazio on the back foot.
It's Greg Taylor on the near side. The Lazio supporters will boo every time Celtic are in possession as Bernardo loses out on the near side. Thought he got a throw, but it's gone Lazio's way. Manuel Lazzari will bowl it back to Patrick, and he'll go all the way back to Providel, who missed training yesterday. He's been suffering with a bout of the flu, but he's been deemed fit enough to start this evening. Scored that header at the end of the game against Atletico here in Matchday 1 as Lazio come down the right-hand side. There's a little bit too much on the pass for Gustav Isaksson, the Dane, to get onto. It's out for a Celtic throw-in. Taylor back to Scales, who lofts it high with the left, but that's going to find touch as well. And Lazio will have a throw-in over on this near side. It looked as though Celtic were going to get a result against the Romans in Glasgow, only for the veteran Pedro to score that late-headed winner. And it's going to be turned back by Mario Gila, who's a product of the Real Madrid Youth Academy. Goes back to Providel, and it's a long ball from Patrick, looking to try and get Castellanos involved. Headed away by Carter Vickers, breaks to McGregor, just outside the centre circle, and he finds Johnston, who returns to the team. One of 3 alterations from the side that started against Motherwell at the weekend. Here's Scales out to Taylor, 3 goalless minutes in. Bernardo picking up and sliding it up the line for Forrest. Forrest now will have a go at the Lazio defence. Here he skips in field, but he's cut out there by Patrick, and Lazio get it clear up towards Castellanos in the centre circle. Turning it out to Isaksson on this near side. This all from a Celtic attack. It's Lazio doing the attacking now. Isaksson steps in field, shoots low with the left foot, and it's a comfortable take for Joe Hart. Lazio 0, Celtic 0, but that was from a promising position in the attacking third for Celtic. A dangerous attack on the counter by the home team.
And that's the danger. You know, I mentioned the midfield and how high they're getting. Paulo Bernardo does really well, takes a great first touch, plays it to James Forrest, and Celtic are on the attack. As it's developing, James Forrest running down this left-hand side, I'm looking, can he just maybe just knock the ball out his feet down the line, make it a race, make Lazzari know that he can go down there. Even if he doesn't win it, it just puts Lazio on the back foot. He steps inside, they lose it, and then the Lazio counter-attacks there. Guendouzi getting down the right-hand side, beyond that midfield. Greg Taylor's trying to get back into position, and Lazio get a shot from a position where you're looking for Celtic to potentially create a chance.
Here comes Celtic down the right-hand side. It's moved infield to Bernardo. Low ball to the edge of the Lazio box. Kyogo steadies himself. He shoots, but he doesn't really catch it with the left foot. And it's a pretty comfortable save for Ivan Providel down low to his right.
Yeah, it is, but it's good play because it's worked for the right-hand side. Kyogo's got his back to goal, and he just lets it roll across him, opens it up, and he's aiming for that far corner with the left foot. There's not enough power on it to trouble Providel.
There's Taylor down the left. Forrest, left-hand side of the box, gets the early ball in. Just skips away from Kyogo. It's headed back to his goalkeeper by Luis Alberto, and Providel will hold on. 5 goalless minutes on the clock in the Olympico.
It's been better that though for Celtic. The ball down the line for Forrest to get across. Kyogo's just at the shot. Kyogo actually nearly gets on the end of the cross, and this is the kind of start that Celtic be looking for, but they have to be mindful of that counter as well from Lazio.
Looking to bed themselves into the game and work from there. We want to concede the first goal this evening, though they did the last time they were here and ended up winning the game anyway. It's Lazio in possession, just outside their own penalty area. It's slipped forward there by Ravella, out to this near side. Lazzari touches it to Isaksson. Then another long ball to the edge of the Celtic box is headed clear by Johnston, back into the area towards the striker Castellanos by Isaksson. Celtic get it away, and it's lumped clear by the left back Taylor, and out for a throw into the hosts down on this near side, which they've taken very quickly indeed. Back to Patrick just inside his own half, and he slips it in field there to Mario Gila. To the left-hand side for Maricic. He's going to try and work the 1-2 with Luis Alberto. He's back onto it, the Montenegrin down the left-hand side. 3 in blue and white in the middle. In comes the cross. Guendouzi wins the header. He doesn't get proper purchase on it, and it comes out to this near side of the box, but Isaksson can turn it back in towards the back post. Headed behind for the corner. The first of the evening by Alistair Johnston. Really good play by Lazio, but Celtic didn't really defend the first cross well at all. No,
they didn't defend the situation either. Alistair Johnston tries to go tight into Felipe Anderson, who isn't the target, and then there's a big massive gap outside him, And the ball in is a really good ball. Guendouzi getting on the end of it. You're expecting him to do a lot better. I think he's got time to get a better connection on it. And now, you know, that's the corner. I remember them at Celtic Park. You see all the players in and around the 6-yard box just firing it right on top of Joe Hart.
They do this all the time, Lazio. This is one of their main set play tactics. It's going to be an in-swinging corner. Luis Alberto firing it in. That's another good one. Hart doesn't really get too much on it. He's managed to flap it half away to the edge of the penalty area. Little dink ball into the 6-yard box, half away by Carter Vickers, headed back towards goal. And it's a comfortable take for Joe Hart. Isaacson with a looping header, which the Celtic goalkeeper holds on to. What a fantastic delivery that was. And there'll be plenty more of those tonight, you would imagine. 0-0, still in the infancy of this one on Matchday 5 in Champions League Group B, 0-0.
Yeah, the delivery from Luis Alberto is excellent. It's fired in. I think sometimes he's actually having a shot. He hits it with that much pace and hoping that either the goalkeeper misjudges it or there can be a touch. But it was interesting in that, you know, the players were in and around, mostly in the 6-yard box, but there was no one on Joe Hart. He was free to come and get it. But they start making runs across him. If you fire the ball in at that pace, then anything can happen. It doesn't even need to be an attacker that gets a touch. It can be a defender that puts the ball into the back of his net. So there's another warning. They'll be fully aware of the quality of Luis Alberto and the delivery. So if possible, try and avoid giving corners away.
You can tell already, we're only 8 minutes into the game, but you can tell that the Lazio supporters aren't happy with what they've been watching in recent weeks. They are very edgy. When the ball's not being played forward quickly enough for their liking, when Celtic are in possession, you can feel and hear the frustration all around us.
Yeah, and look, I think Tom was speaking about Lazio and not being the Lazio that we remember. And unfortunately for fans, that's the Lazio they want to see. And if they're not seeing it, you know, we're speaking about it from a Celtic point of view to say Celtic are capable of winning this game and being the better side, not through, you know, a smash and grab, but by controlling the game. And Lazio fans, they won't like that. They'll think that they should be much better than Celtic, and they think that they should be able to go and attack them at will. But Celtic are showing good composure with the ball here.
Down the right-hand side, it's Paolo Bernardo. Felipe Anderson all over him. He finds his man out on the right, and Yang comes back to Bernardo, to McGregor. Given away by Bernardo, and Lazio have it back down the left-hand side with Luis Alberto. It's the nutmeg on McGregor, slips it into the centre circle for Guendouzi. Forward he comes, he's got Isaacson to his right, he's got another run on Lazzari's in the infield. It's going to be Isaacson, he's playing it short to Guendouzi, bends the ball in, and the header down into the ground and wide. And Celtic get away with one there. Felipe Anderson diving in at the back post, he's hurt himself, he's hit the post himself. But crucially for Celtic, he could not find the target with a header. Similar area to where Pedro scored the winner against them at Celtic Park on Matchday 2. Down into the ground, over the bar, it stays 0-0, only just.
It's a glorious chance. It should be 1-0 to Lazio. And it's that cross again, as you said. We saw Atletico Madrid do it as well. The narrow cross, just inside the width of the 18-yard box, just clipped to the back post. Anderson times his run brilliantly. Alistair Johnston has no idea where Felipe Anderson is, and he does maybe do enough just to put him off by getting closer to him, but nonetheless he should be hitting the back of the net there.
Johnston for Celtic, down the right-hand touchline for Yang. Support from O'Reilly over on the far side. O'Reilly trying to hold off his man, he's been robbed though. Lazio have it back. And now it's a little touch there from Castellanos, trying to work it out wide left. The Carter Vickers is there, and he turns it back to Joe Hart, who plays it short to Scales. Yes, they set the bar a little higher last season. Lazio, they were runners-up in Serie A to Napoli, were dominant champions, winning the first Scudetto in more than 3 decades. Lazio themselves haven't been champions since 2000, that fabulous team under Sven-Göran Eriksson. It really was. When you think of Salas, Nesta, Nedved, Veron, Kuto, Stankovic, Mihailovic, Mancini, wonderful players. And they managed to not just have success at home under Eriksson, they won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1999, beating Mallorca in the final at Villa Park. Fine side it was, as they come down the right-hand side with Lazzari. Bernardo covering across, gets the challenge in, but it breaks Isaacson's way. Back into the midfield for Nicolo Ravella, and then the long ranger from Felipe Anderson, or Luis Alberto rather, from 25-30 yards out. It's always rising over the crossbar, but such is the ability of Luis Alberto, and Brendan Rodgers knows that. He gave him his debut at Liverpool against Manchester United a decade ago. You just don't want to be giving him that kind of space at that kind of distance from goal.
Absolutely not. And I keep speaking about the Celtic midfield trying to play higher and then behind the Lazio midfield, but at the minute Lazio are starting to just edge control in the game, and when they get the ball in and around the box to Luis Alberto, you see the quality that he's got. It is rising. It's always looks like it's going wide. Didn't trouble Joe Hart, but you don't want to be giving him too many opportunities, because we know he's got the quality.
12.5 on the clock at 0-0. Lazio have got a free kick down on this near side, right in front of Brendan Rodgers, who stands at the edge of his technical area. Slipped back onto halfway for Ravella, and then Patrick will play it short to Mario Gila, and it's switched out to the left-hand side for Marisic. Forward it comes, Castellanos, first time ball, left-hand side of the Celtic penalty area, cut back, blocked by Scales, and then the shot from the edge of the area from Anderson was well past the left-hand post, and it's 0-0. But the Celtic have a problem here, because Lazio are taking this game by the scruff of the neck right now.
Yeah, they are. They're starting to get real control. They're looking dangerous going forward. Luis Alberto at the heart of everything. And Celtic need to be, again, mindful of the fact that, we are saying they're not as good, Lazio, but they're good at home. They're a good home side. They know that they've got a chance of winning this group, actually. Celtic are fighting to stay in it and fighting to stay just in Europe. But Lazio have a real chance of winning this group. So you obviously always have to respect your opponent, but they can't be living too dangerously, because Lazio are getting more and more control in the game.
Yeah, the other game in the group kicking off at 8 in Rotterdam, Feyenoord Atletico. So even if Celtic win this, they'll have a wait to see what happens in the other game. See if their Champions League dreams will be shattered. They could still, with 2 wins, finish third, as O'Reilly wins the throw-in over on the far side against Marisic. Played short there to Yang, but he puts it straight back out for a throw-in. He's got his arms outstretched, appealing to the referee for something. I'm not really sure what it was. I think it maybe felt it came off of Ravella last, and it's gone Lazio's way, midway inside their own half, over on that far side. Referee is Halil Meller, Turk. Did Celtic 0 Leipzig 2 last season in this competition, the meeting in Glasgow. He also did a Celtic win in the Czech Republic against Jablonec, Europa League qualifier early in the Ange Postecoglou era. As Taylor picks up on the near side, rolls it back to McGregor on the halfway line. Left-footed ball to the right of the centre circle for Carter Vickers. And now Scales. Celtic really do need to try and get a little feel of the ball here, because the last 5 minutes have been pretty dodgy for them at the back. Coughed up a few opportunities, most notably for Felipe Anderson, as Johnston picks up on the right long ball. Kyogo gets in there. Providel made a mess of it, but Kyogo couldn't get onto it. In behind him, and Patrick clears. Just for a second it looked like Kyogo was going to be in, the man who gave Celtic the lead against the Italians in Glasgow.
It's a quite magnificent pass from Alistair Johnston, because Celtic they've not played a pass like that yet so far tonight. He's just stepping into the Lazio half. Kyogo makes a run. It's perfectly weighted. It gives Providel a problem, it gives the defence a problem, and they manage to deal with it. But that is certainly, an avenue for Celtic, because a lot of it's been in front of Lazio, and even when they've got in the attacking areas, it's to feet for Forrest and Yang, and they haven't really been able to create much. So that could be an avenue for Celtic to try and exploit.
Matt O'Reilly is over it. Left-footed free kick, dinks it in, but it's a poor one of his poorest, and it goes harmlessly past the left-hand post, and an attacking situation for Celtic comes to absolutely nothing. And we know Matt O'Reilly's better than that. Yeah,
I mean, he floats it towards the back post, but I always think in these positions, when you're wide to narrow, aim that to get inside the back post, so that if it does miss everyone, the goalkeeper has to wait to see if there's a touch. How often do you see those ones creeping into the back post without the goalkeeper being able to do anything about it? He's trying to pick someone out, making that run. I think it was Carter Vickers round the back, It's just a poor execution. But I always like to see someone almost shooting for that back post area in case everybody misses it.
The Lazio ultras in the Curva Nord off to our left in the Olimpico, waving the huge flags and chanting constantly. The Celtic pick up with Carter Vickers. The Celtic fans off to our right, up the opposite end. Good few thousand of them in attendance. Another terrific travelling support. And now it's with Joe Hart at the edge of his box. Carter Vickers, 0-0 in the Eternal City on 17 minutes, and it's Liam Scales over on this near side. Back to Carter Vickers. Just a real optimistic moment there for the Celtic supporters, seeing Kyogo latching on potentially to that Johnston pass a few minutes ago. Forrest's given it away though on this near side. Picked up by Isaacson, he's given it away though as well, and it's Bernardo who's away from a couple of Lazio challenges, moving into some space. Kyogo ahead of him, slips it to the right instead for Yang. It's a really poor pass from Paulo Bernardo, giving it away, and it needs to, at this level, it simply needs to be better than that.
Yeah, of course it does. He does really well to win the ball, and when he wins it, he's running inside. He's got Kyogo we know his movement's exceptional, and Yang to his right hand side, but he almost hesitates before he picks that ball up. He should be going with real urgency, try and drive a defender out, commit a defender. Having said that, Yang holds his position really well. It's an easy pass for someone to play straight to him or into his path, a yard in front for him to go and hit it first time, and he just gets the pass wrong. It's a real wasted opportunity for Celtic.
Taylor heads out, Lazio throwing over on this near side, just beyond the midway point of the Celtic half. It's Guendouzi who lobs it back into his own half for Patrick, back to the Frenchman who was on the books at Arsenal for a spell, on loan here from Marseille. He was in the France World Cup squad, didn't play last year, a year ago. As McGregor wins it back for Celtic in the midfield, back to Carter Vickers. Short ball to Scales. Carter Vickers to Johnston. And back to Liam Scales. This is okay for Celtic, just knocking the ball around. They might at times not be going anywhere, but just getting that feel of the ball, passing it around that big pitch down there. You don't win away from home in the Champions League very often. It's the two in Moscow in 2012 and in Brussels against Anderlecht in 2017. The second of those was under Brendan Rodgers. Fantastic 3-0 win. A rare clean sheet though over the last decade in this competition. It's Taylor back to Scales, and he finds Cameron Carter Vickers. Short ball onto the touchline. Yang touches it infield to O'Reilly, but then another wasted pass for Johnston. Misunderstanding. Straight back with Lazio, and it's picked up by Gila. Out to the left-hand side it goes for the home team, and it's picked up by Luis Alberto, slipping it to Rivella. He moves it to the right of the centre circle. Patrick out to Lazzari on the near side. Scored against Celtic in Glasgow 4 years ago. And Celtic did the double over Lazio in that group. A pair of 2-1 wins. Here's Isaacson on the right, but he can't control. And it goes out of play for a throw-in to Celtic, and they'll be more than happy with that down in this near side, given that was a potentially another promising Lazio attack, which has come to nothing.
Yeah, they'll be happy. It's a poor touch from Isaacson. Nice switch of play, but you know, you mentioned a minute ago about Celtic. It's good that they can keep the ball, but they have to have options going forward, because Lazio aren't, you know, putting them under a high press, but they're gradually gaining territory, gaining ground, and trying to make Celtic force the passes. But they have to offer something, you know, further forward. Miss that press, miss out. Callum McGregor, can you play it into the feet of the advanced midfielders? Can you get it wide to Yang and Forrest at times? But I agree with you, the patience is there. They don't need to force it, but they have to try and get a bit of territory up and around the Lazio box.
Given the head-to-head situation, they needed a 2-goal victory to maintain hopes of usurping Lazio in the section. And again, the header from O'Reilly goes straight to Lazzari. Bernardo all over him, trying to force the error, which he's done. Taylor picks up. He too gives it away. They're getting into the final third, but they're not finding teammates. And here's Isaacson on the counter for the home team, running at Scales. Right-hand side, level with the edge of the D of the Celtic box. Isaacson on the left peg, looks to switch it to the left-hand side of the box for the gloved Anderson. Anderson takes it down, rolls it to the edge of the penalty area for Luis Alberto. O'Reilly gets in his face, is rolled out to the left for Anderson, through his legs though, and he's forced out to the touchline. The momentum taken away from the attack momentarily. It comes now back to Luis Alberto, works the 1-2 with Rovella. Little clip ball, left-hand side of the box. An opportunity potentially to cross here for the home team with Marisic. It's forced back the way though. It comes to Luis Alberto, swings the ball in from the left-hand side to the box. A poor delivery, it's away by Scales. Still 0-0, a quarter of this game's come and gone. Here's Anderson again, running at Johnston, who slides in. Anderson is forced out to the touchline again. His ball in field was straight to Bernardo though. And Bernardo passes it off a Lazio player, and out for a Celtic throw-in on the far side. The linesman was initially giving it to Celtic. It's actually going the home team's way. So again, it's kind of a pass under no real pressure that Bernardo's put straight into touch in the end.
Yeah, he didn't have a great deal of options. He had Kyogo making that run, but because Lazio's pressure, Celtic brought almost everyone back defending, and it breaks to Paulo Bernardo. He doesn't have any other option. He's trying to free himself up. In the end, he ends up with 3 men round him, and he's trying to either knock it through his legs, get on the other end, or hit it off them for the throw-in. But Lazio, when Celtic advance and try and play forward, they look dangerous on the counter. At the minute, Celtic haven't really offered that counter-attacking threat.
Later this evening, as we see a replay of Greg Taylor challenging Isaacson. Later this evening, it is Ross County St Mirren. Derek Adams looking for his first win in his third spell. County without a win in 10, looking to get the better of St Mirren, who are perhaps not quite as good on the road as they are in Paisley. It's an intriguing fixture, and full commentary of that to come later here on Sports Sound this evening. It's about the Champions League right now, as Marisic wins it back for Lazio over on the left-hand side. Infield for Rovella, turns it to Luis Alberto over on the left-hand touchline, down the line for Anderson. He goes back into his own half for Marisic. Short ball to Rovella, to Marisic again, then down the left-hand touchline, Luis Alberto, who missed the defeat to Salernitana at the weekend. He's found Guendouzi with the outside of the boot, left-hand side of the Celtic box. Back to the edge of the area for Felipe Anderson. And now to the right of the D, it's Isaacson, shapes to shoot with the left, deflected by Taylor. And behind for a Lazio corner over on that far side. The Lazio left as they attack the goal to our right.
They're getting closer, aren't they? It's a wonderful pass from Luis Alberto outside the right foot. Guendouzi making that run beyond that Celtic backline. And then when it comes to Isaacson, Greg Taylor actually defends it very well, because he fakes to go on to his right. Greg Taylor almost buys it, but he manages to get back for the shot, to block the shot on the left foot.
It's another one of these corners as well. This is going to be fizzed in. Luis Alberto, his heart gets something onto it. He's ended up in his own net as he collided with one of the Lazio attackers. That's going to be a free kick to Celtic, and that just takes the nerves away from the Celtic supporters. Just for a little breather. 0-0 in Rome, 25 on the clock.
Yeah, I'm convinced he's shooting, Liam, because of the way he's hitting it, and the bend that he gets on it, and the power that he gets on it. He's fired that in on top of Joe Hart, and there is a foul in there. But again, as I said, they need to avoid giving corners, or if they're going to give them away, put them out the other side where it can't be an in-swinger.
The statistics so far, Celtic actually is at 51% possession in their favour, albeit Lazio have had 8 goal attempts already. A couple of them have hit target, Celtic with 1. And a tame effort from Kyogo earlier on. And it's the Scottish champions who've got themselves a free kick left of the centre circle. Down in this near side, Callum McGregor, how he loves to dominate games. He's not being able to do that this evening so far. There's a free kick to Celtic on the halfway line, which Taylor takes and rolls it back the way to Scales. He finds Carter Vickers. Then out to Johnston on that right-hand side. Slips it out to Yang on the touchline. Flips it down the right-hand touchline for O'Reilly. He's not going to get there though. Lazio have it with Patrick, who kind of panically boots it clear under a bit of pressure. It's into the Celtic half, and Carter Vickers with a little flick to Scales. Not sure he intended it, but it's worked out really well. If he did intend that, then it's an excellent ball. Here's Isaacson though, winning it back for Lazio down the right, fouled by Taylor, who's going to be yellow carded here. And now he's running the tightrope relatively early in proceedings is Greg Taylor. So he brings down Isaacson, and it's going to be a free kick to Lazio out on this right-hand side, and a chance to threaten the Celtic box again.
Yeah, when the ball is on its way to Isaacson, it looks like he's going to hold it in. Greg Taylor tries to nick in front, Isaacson just holds him off, and without touching the ball, he's the other side of Greg Taylor, who feels he has to bring him down. I'm not so sure he has to be as aggressive in that initial defending of it, but you know, as you say, yellow card now.
Here's Luis Alberto with a cross, and it's headed behind by O'Reilly. I think that's going behind for a goal kick. He obviously didn't know what was going on behind him. There wasn't much in the end up, and now Celtic are going to have to face one of these corners again from that far side.
Yeah, it's one of them where, because you know they've been a bit vulnerable to that type of cross, Matt O'Reilly can't take any chances. He has to clear it. You know, I have said about not giving corners away, but he's running towards his goal. He has to get something on it just to get it away.
Luis Alberto, he's taking it short this time to Felipe Anderson. Back to Luis Alberto. In comes the cross this time, and well defended by Carter Vickers, and Celtic get the free kick inside the box, and more groans, collective groans around us in the Stadio Olimpico as Celtic get that decision for a foul there on Cameron Carter Vickers by Mario Gila.
Yeah, I mean, Lazio have looked dangerous without creating, you know, clear-cut chances. I'm thinking Guendouzi's header, probably the best.
There's a long ball for Kyogo to try and latch onto. He gets his right foot to it, but the two centre-backs get back as well and knock it back to the goalkeeper. Patrick picks up and then out to the left for Marisic, and up the line before going back down the line to Marisic, and his ball into midfield's dreadful, and straight to McGregor. And here's O'Reilly driving into the area, pulls it across towards the penalty spot, but Lazio block and clear. Forrest was the target. Here's Taylor picking up on the left. Celtic trying to land a blow or two here, but Taylor goes back to Scales. Castellanos chasing him down to Carter Vickers, now with Johnston. Good ball forward to O'Reilly, back to Yang, and then Bernardo to McGregor. This is Celtic's best passing move of the game. It's when they get into that attacking third, that's where it all breaks down. Here's Forrest now in the attacking third, left-hand side, taking on his man, crossing in, does all he could, and not one Celtic player attacks it as it's flicked out for a throw-in to the Scottish champions over on the reverse right-hand side.
I'll tell you what, it's an incredible cross from James Forrest, because he drags it down to his left-hand side, he digs it out, and it's a brilliant cross. The goalkeeper can't come for it. Celtic have four bodies in there, they're all looking at the ball, no one's going to attack it. If Yang can go and attack it, if O'Reilly or Bernardo who are in that area can go and gamble and attack it, then Celtic have a chance to go and take the lead. It's a brilliant cross from Forrest.
McGregor goes long, looking for Kyogo. Patrick heads away though. Now Gila. This clearance out to Anderson on the far side, but he's giving it away. It's going to be a free kick to Celtic surely now as well. Bernardo upended just slightly right of centre as he was brought down by Ravella, and Celtic have a free kick in a pretty decent position here, midway inside Lazio territory, and as I say, it's just right of the central area. What can they come up with here? We're on the half hour here in Rome, goalless. But Celtic's actually been a good few minutes for them.
It has, and it's something they have to do more of. When, you know, the passer play was brilliant when it gets to James Forrest, down the line, cross, someone has to go and attack it, but they managed to win the ball back, keep it on the edge of the Lazio penalty area, and they've got a chance now from this free kick.
O'Reilly clipping it in, looking for Liam Scales, left-hand side of the box, heads it back to Forrest, gets more fresh air than ball, and Guendouzi was there to block, and Lazio able to come away with it on this near side where it's dumped forward by Marisic onto the halfway line. The header from Johnston's poor, and Luis Alberto's pass out to the left takes a deflection, but it breaks to Felipe Anderson, who's driving at the Celtic box. Johnston stands his ground well. Loose ball breaks Luis Alberto's way. Now with Guendouzi, low ball, right angle of the box for Isaacson. Little chip to the right-hand side of the area for Guendouzi again. Keeps it in play at the byline, up against Taylor. Rolls it back to Isaacson, level with the edge of the D of the Celtic box. The cross comes in, it's cleared by Scales. It's only half away. Ravella puts it back into the area. Isaacson chases, but Joe Hart gets his gloves onto it as he slides to the left angle of his 6-yard box to collect, and it stays Lazio 0, Celtic 0.
Yeah, it's good defending from Joe Hart, Greg Taylor and Liam Scales as well, just shepherding that ball through to Joe Hart. And again, you know, Lazio, the team that look like they've got the invention in and around the box, that they're trying stuff, trying to move Celtic, and go back to that wide free kick again. O'Reilly, he is picking out Liam Scales, who makes a run away to the back, but there's not enough power on the cross for Liam Scales to get that into an area that's going to hurt Lazio. Again, I would like to see that going down the middle, make Lazio defend it. If they can't clear it, if you put enough pressure on, it's dropping down in the box where you can maybe get that shot away.
A push by Isaacson on Taylor, free kick Celtic just inside the Lazio half. Down below us, you are listening to Sports Sound here on BBC Radio Scotland Extra 810 medium wave on digital and online at bbc.co.uk/sportscotland. It is goalless on Matchday 5 in Champions League Group E. Celtic taking part in one of the early kickoffs in the Champions League this evening as Taylor slips it forward, looking for Bernardo, cut out by Ravella. Guendouzi can't control though, and it breaks to Scales, who finds McGregor, who finds O'Reilly, and then back to Carter Vickers via McGregor. Now it's with Johnston over on the right. So a bit more even just in the last 5 minutes or so, after a 15-minute spell of Lazio pressure. Here is McGregor up towards the edge of the centre circle, slips it to his left for Scales. Some power in the pass onto the touchline for Forrest, and the challenge goes in on Greg Taylor. No foul, but it is a Celtic throw-in, and this is about level with the edge of the D of the Lazio box. They're certainly seeing more ball in Lazio territory just now.
Yeah, and they're building it well, they're moving the ball quick, and they've got players running forward, and that's what they have to do.
Celtic doing this without Hatate, no Maida, no Abada. A heavy touch by McGregor. Scales gets onto it, Spears blushes, goes back to Joe Hart, and then Scales out to Taylor on this near side, forward towards James Forrest. Since lovely play by Forrest, can he get back onto it? Not quite. A throw into Lazio. He was almost dancing with the touchline down on this near side as his little dummy actually took Lazzari right out of the equation, but I'm not even sure James Forrest 10 years ago was able to latch onto the ball and keep it in play. It will be a Lazio throw.
I thought he was going to be able to catch it, but I don't know if it's just the speed, you know, that he's kind of knocked off the pitch and then trying to gain his feet. He looked like he just couldn't get the grip that needed to turn quick enough to go and get it and keep it in, but it was really good play.
Greg Taylor giving it away again on the near side. Ravella picks up for Lazio, back to Patrick. His ball's poor as well. Both teams have been so guilty of giving possession away too easily in the match. Felipe Anderson on the far side, good slide challenge Johnston. Celtic have it, but the ref didn't like it. In fact, he's not just giving the free kick, he's yellow carding Johnston. Well, we're a long way from it. Now, this huge stadium where the running track is, or used to be, and it's happened on the other side of the pitch. Challenge by Johnston and Felipe Anderson looked fine from where we are.
That looked like a good challenge for me. I'm surprised it's given. We may get a chance to see it again. But Felipe Anderson stepping inside, and Alistair Johnson slides down and wraps his left leg round him. It's a good challenge. I've just seen it there. He wins the ball. It's not even a foul, and he's got a yellow card for it. It's a terrible decision.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that can seriously come back and haunt you in a game. Johnston gets another yellow, and both he and Taylor are now booked. And Celtic could be down to 10 men again. Of course, we're down to 9 in Rotterdam.
Yeah, especially when, for that challenge, it's not even a foul. So if it does another challenge like that, which isn't a foul, and he gets sent off.
Here's Felipe Anderson down the left-hand side, taking on Carter Vickers, poking it back towards Luis Alberto. O'Reilly gets in the way, and out with Carter Vickers, who slips it out to Johnston, who was fouled himself there. And that's going to be a free kick to Celtic. I think the Turkish referee's annoying both sets of players and supporters right now.
Yeah, but well, I think that's the correct decision. Johnston does really well. Luis Alberto leans on him and stops him from getting past him.
Look at that statistic that's flashed up in front of us. Much better from a Celtic point of view. 209 passes completed compared to 184 for Lazio. 54% possession. That is much more like it. Those are the kind of statistics you see and you know you're in the game.
Yeah, And I think we can see that. You know, they have used the ball well without really having that cutting edge going forward, but they haven't forced it. Lazio aren't going and putting them under serious amounts of pressure either. They're almost allowing them to have it at the back. Celtic are just struggling to get that penetrative pass and really put Lazio under pressure. And we've spoken about the control at times Lazio have had, and they do look dangerous going forward. They look like they can get into dangerous areas. But Joe Hart's not been like worked. He's not making save after save, and Celtic are coping with that pretty well at the minute. And you would have to say, you know, they'll be happy enough with how it's going, but just maybe try and offer a little bit more going forward.
It's Lazio in possession deep inside their own half, shifted back to the keeper Provedel, who clears with the right foot up towards halfway. Scales is underneath it with the head. And so too is Luis Alberto, who flicks it to Marisic behind him over on the left-hand side. Short ball to Anderson, and he goes all the way back to Mario Hila. Celtic without a few star players. Lazio are as well. They're without the Uruguay international Matthias Vicino, a really important player for them. He's suspended tonight, and the injured Alessio Romagnoli, the defender. Midfielder Mattia Zaccagni's out as well as they come forward. Luis Alberto slips it left-hand side of the box for Anderson. His little ball across is cut out, took a deflection, could so easily have fallen at the feet of Castellanos, 6 yards from goal. Celtic get it away though. Blocked by Scales. Luis Alberto, and then the long ranger from Rovella goes high over the crossbar, and it will stay Lazio 0, Celtic 0. 7 minutes of the 45 of the first half remaining.
There's another example of Lazio looking dangerous and Celtic actually being able to defend it. You know, when it comes to Felipe Anderson, it looks like he's going to either shift it onto his right, because the ball's in the centre, or drag it onto his left, but he actually just has a little snapshot with very little backlift. It does take a deflection, but again, Celtic deal with it, and then when it's forced out, I mean, you're not wanting Luis Alberto to be the one that's taking shots from the edge of the box, but given, you know, we've just saw Ravella's chance, then if that's all they can muster from that dangerous looking situation, then Celtic will be delighted with it.
Hart getting it from Carter Vickers, or giving it to Carter Vickers rather. Flipped out to the right, Celtic give it away. It's now Hila turning it all the way back to his goalkeeper. Yeah, Lazio shorn of confidence just now, 1 win in 6. They've got their lowest points tally after their first 13 Serie A matches in almost a decade. In fact, it is a decade, 2013. It's the last time they had 17 points from their first 13. And finished runners-up last season. It's not where they want to be, 11th in the Italian top flight. So this isn't a side in rip-roaring form that Celtic are coming up against this evening. They search for a victory, the only result that can keep them in Europe beyond this evening. It's a foul by Yang on the far side, but Felipe Anderson picks it up on the left. Referee allowing him the advantage, but he tries to cross. It's cut out, and Johnston clears. Now it's with Rovella in the midfield, faced by Bernardo. Slips it to his left for Luis Alberto, who's pulling all the Lazio strings right now. Out to Felipe Anderson, challenged well by O'Reilly. Picked up by Luis Alberto again. He goes for goal once more, but it's a comfortable take this time for Joe Hart. Lazio 0, Celtic 0. And that's us on 40 minutes in the Stadio Olimpico. Yeah,
it's a comfortable one for Joe Hart. But the chance comes because the ball comes into Yang and he feels that Felipe Anderson is closer to him, so he tries to back into him, but forgets about the ball when it rolls to I think it's Rovella in the midfield, and then it allows Lazio to sustain the attack. But again, a comfortable one for Joe Hart, straight down the middle.
Johnston has it for Celtic wide on the right, slipping it back to Carter Vickers. Now with Scales. Scales, what a wonderful season he's having. Finds Taylor on the left. Forward towards Forrest. Goes back the way to Bernardo into his own half for Scales. He squares it for Carter Vickers. Celtic trying to build from the back. If they could just get Kyogo, Forrest and Yang involved in the final third, they could be onto something here. McGregor short to Johnston. Low ball to the right for O'Reilly. Goes back to Carter Vickers. His own half. It's patient from Celtic. The shrill whistles from the Lazio fans. Scales out to Forrest on the left. At level with the edge of the centre circle, passing it back to Liam Scales. Decides to come back out to this left-hand touchline for Taylor. Taylor's midway inside enemy territory. Forward to Forrest. just bounces off Forrest, can't find a teammate, and now Isaacson comes away with it, and Luis Alberto picks up in the middle. Just outside the centre circle, out to Marisic on the left. And he's going to be forced back the way it looks like, and he's managed to square it, in fact, to Ravella, up towards the edge of the centre circle. Forward it comes, little back heel from Castellanos. Now out to the left-hand side, Luis Alberto to Felipe Anderson. First time cross comes off Johnston, and behind for the corner. Crucial period in the game this, just before half-time, 0-0.
Yeah, it is. It's good play again from Lazio. Nice little flick round the corner from Castellanos. It takes Cameron Carter-Vickers out of the game. Felipe Anderson, when Lazio have the ball, they're really brave in the way that they've set up. They keep Felipe Anderson, Isaacson and Castellanos on the same line, in that defensive line for Celtic, and they are getting a bit of joy. But again, it's another dangerous situation they could have done better from, but this is one they'll have to defend again.
Lazio's fourth corner, Luis Alberto's over it again, and into the side net it goes. I mean, it's definitely not a cross.
He's 100% shooting. he's definitely shooting, and I don't mind it, because I mean that one just goes into the side netting, but the other ones he's hit, the pace and the power on them, and even the height, it's not a height where Joe Hart can comfortably, because of the bodies anyway, but sometimes if he can take a step back and then go and run and extend to punch, it's all just above head height. It makes it difficult for Joe Hart to be commanding, to come and get it. It's definitely a shot.
Callum McGregor squaring it to Scales. Taylor on the left-hand touchline, picks it up now. It's a long ball, it's an ambitious one. Forrest's not getting there. Hila lets it go back to Providel, who clears from the edge of his box to Ravella in the midfield. Out to Felipe Anderson, first time in field to Luis Alberto. Lays it back to Felipe Anderson, he finds Gendouzi, right of the centre circle. Rolling it out to Lazzari on this near side, to the overlapping Isaacson. Checks back onto his left-hand side and shifts it back into the midfield for Ravella. He's going to have another go here, and it's probably worse than his last one. And it stays Lazio 0, Celtic 0. That flies closer to the corner flag than Joe Hart's goal frame.
Yeah, he just doesn't catch it, and it's Lazio again, working it really well. Oh, he totally shanks it, slices it off balance outside his left foot, and it's a really poor attempt. But Lazio again, they work it from left to right. Isaacson's in a chance to either go 1v1 down the line, put across the box, but they come back out, and then it's left for Ravella to try that hugely ambitious effort with his left foot. But I mean, they'll be happy enough, Celtic, comfortable enough. But you're speaking about the need to get Forrest and Yang and Kyogo. They absolutely do, but in order to do that, they have to find Bernardo and O'Reilly. They've barely touched the ball in and around the Lazio box. They're the key players that will draw either a defender out of position, then they can knock it and find the space, or they can just feed these players, Yang and Forrest and Kyogo, from a higher position.
We're well into the final minute of the first half, plus whatever the Turkish referee wants to add on at the end. It is O'Reilly who finds McGregor, and then back to Carter-Vickers midway inside his own half. Square ball to Scales. Scales then fires it into the feet of Forrest on this near side. Back to Taylor, and then back to Scales. In his own half to Taylor. Taylor's got Forrest down the touchline. It's pretty tight, in fairness. Just to go back to Scales. Fourth official down there doesn't have a board in his hand because there is no stoppage time. It's half-time in the Stadio Olimpico. Celtic, well, they coughed up a couple of chances for Lazio in the early stages of the game, after Isaacson and Kyogo at either end had weak efforts. But it was the header from Felipe Anderson in 10 minutes that was Lazio's best opportunity. He dived to meet the ball, he headed it down into the ground, and it bounced over the crossbar. And Luis Alberto with a shot over the crossbar is about as close as Lazio have come. They've had a lot of possession in the opening quarter of the game, the opening half of the first half. But Celtic grew into it. They just haven't been able to get their attacking players engaged in the match. If they can do that, perhaps their dream of resurrecting their European season could still be on when they leave the Eternal City after the game here this evening, because in Rome at half-time on a night Celtic must win, it is Lazio 0, Celtic 0.
Celtic in the Champions League.
Live on Sports Sound from BBC Radio Scotland.
Goal! Celtic score!
Hey, I'm
I'm Laura Whitmore.
And I'm Ian Sterling.
Anyone who knows us knows we are obsessed with true crime.
Love it. So Laura is going to give you 3 reasons to listen to our brand new podcast. Laura, go.
Okay, we've got murder, fraud, blackmail, brainwashing, catfishing, and even a murderous dentist.
Boom, done.
That's more than 3 reasons.
You know your stuff.
Murder They Wrote with Laura Whitmore and Ian Sterling. Listen on BBC Sounds.
You're listening to Sports Sound with me, Richard Gordon. Still to come, the rearranged Premiership encounter. It's a 7:45 kick-off in Dingwall. Stephen Thomason will be joining us for that. And so too will our commentary team of Ian Auld and Billy Dodds. And do listen out on Thursday for another double-header. This time it's all about Europe. The programme starts at 5:05. It's a 5:45 kick-off in the Conference League as HJK Helsinki take on Aberdeen. The Dons, of course, already out of Europe, but that's by no means the case for Rangers, who are in a very strong position to qualify from the group. Their next encounter in the Europa League at home to Limassol. You'll have that one live as well. So a double bill to come on Thursday, double bill tonight. Premiership action a little bit later. Right now we are halfway through the encounter at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. Celtic have to win as things stand, though. It is 0-0. Tom English, your thoughts on the opening 45 minutes?
Well, I just been told that Kyogo's had 2 touches in the whole match.
Wow.
So that's kind of tells you something about Celtic's attacking threat, which I think has been very minimal. Lazio have had most of the ball, haven't done a whole lot with it, haven't created great chances. Anderson had a chance, Guendouzi had a chance. But Lazio don't look particularly good to me either. A lot of huff and puff from them. Not a lot of menace, a lot of possession, but not a lot of penetrative stuff that Celtic are going to be unduly worried about. I think Celtic will be concerned at the waves of pressure, and that at some stage it's going to count. And they'll also be concerned that they're not creating really anything themselves, not getting the hold of the ball in any discernible way. But it's not like Joe Hart is flapping a bit when the ball is in the air a number of times, but he's not having to make saves. So it's kind of a weird game. It's not very good, is it? I don't think the quality is very good at all.
No, but I must admit, I've kind of felt that that Celtic are kind of quite composed. It's quite controlled, other than maybe a 7 or 8 minute spell where you began to fear that Lazio were really beginning to step it up. They've actually coped very well with the attacking possession that Lazio have had, haven't they?
And that they haven't been given up a lot of chances, or very few chances actually. So that part of it has been fine. It's just that kind of build up of pressure, And if it continues, will somebody make a mistake? Will they end up at the goal? At the moment, they don't look under massive pressure at all. But I think they want to be getting a hold of the ball a bit more, posing a bit of threat down the other end, give their defenders a bit of a break, ask a few questions, and they're not really. It's just if it continues this way, you could just see like a penalty or a deflection or something going in for Lazio. I'd just like to see Celtic get a hold of the ball and just give Lazio something to think about.
I did pose the question beforehand, Tom. Would it be a more pragmatic approach then from Celtic, given that they were thumped 6-0 by Atletico Madrid last time out? Is that perhaps what we are seeing as Celtic just make sure they have a foothold in the game going into the second half?
I don't think it can be anything other than pragmatic, given they've a very little ball. They haven't had much possession, so they have to be conservative because they're kind of on the back foot. For much of that half, they're having to do a lot of chasing, a lot of defending, a lot of honest graft.
Just on that, Tom, you said they haven't done much of the ball. They've had 56% possession.
That's not. Don't believe those stats. It's rubbish, I mean, what have they created?
And which takes me back to the point I was making. Is it this more about right? Let's just get through the first half. We'll make sure that we're still very much in the game, and then perhaps we can step it up. I mean, as Liam, the passes attempted 318. I'm sure one of the other ones, it may have been in Madrid actually, they might have been under 200 in the whole game. So they have had more of the ball. Yes, they haven't offered any kind of attacking threat, but is this not more about just feeling their way?
No, that's fine. And 0-0 is fine. Absolutely. 0-0 is grand. In fact, 0-0 at full time would be fine. I know it would put them out. But a point away from home, in the grand scheme of things, you take that. And look, the possession, but a lot of passes, not a lot of dangerous passes, not a lot of passes in dangerous areas. I think they've been coping absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. As I said, they haven't been under the cosh. They haven't been giving up chances. Joe Hart, they haven't been pulled out of their shape in defence that much. Ball in the air, those crosses, two or three of them in short succession, they were slightly concerning. But apart from that, Lazio don't look great. They just don't look great. As I say, a lot of huff and puff from them. Not a lot of menace. So Celtic, fine. I think Rodgers will be happy enough. Although he'll want them to pose more of a threat. If he wants to win the game, which clearly he does. I don't like the fact that Celtic are just. I know you're talking about the possession, but it looked to me like Lazio were dominating that game without doing anything with their dominance.
Right, James McFadden, you've had a few moments just to contemplate what you've been watching for the first 45 minutes. What's your assessment?
Yeah, well, Celtic have had more possession. I know you can say you don't believe those stats, Tom, but they have. It's clear. But the players with the most passes are Scales, Carter-Vickers and Taylor. So that tells you where the possession is. They're not offering too much attacking wise, and I think that it's down to. I don't think it's because obviously they don't want to. It's not that they've said we'll play for a draw at half time and then we'll crank it up. And Paulo Bernardo are picking up high positions, but they're not getting the ball. A lot of the passes are coming Carter-Vickers to Scales to Taylor, to Scales to Carter-Vickers to Johnston, and they're not being able to find O'Reilly and Bernardo in higher positions to go and get at the Lazio backline. Lazio have sat off to an extent, go into like a 4-4-2 when they're pressing and trying to close those gaps and force it into the wide areas, and Celtic just haven't offered too much going forward. The other thing is, I understand your point, Tom, at 0-0 is fine, but they have to go and try and win the game. They can't be saying, well, I know it's not been a great campaign, but at least we get a draw in Rome.
I know. They
have to go and try and win the game.
They won't be saying that. That's just me. I think 0-0 will be a good result. Brendan Rodgers would say it's not a good enough result because it puts us out. But on the balance of that game, and I know, we talk about possession, right? And you got the stats there. The possession is not. It's not in middle to front. So, do you know what I mean? It's a different type of possession.
Yeah, they're keeping the ball. They're not doing enough with it.
Yeah.
They have it, but they're not doing enough with it.
You can say the same about Lazio, right? I don't think Lazio have been impressive at all.
No, they look like they can be dangerous, but they're not. Yeah. Like they're getting into good areas. They're getting players forward, but they're not really. They're not peppering the goal. They're not putting Celtic under massive pressure. When they get in those areas, yes, they've looked dangerous. Felipe Anderson should score for me, but he doesn't. So you take that. But apart from that, they've not really looked like they've got good players in attacking areas, but they've not really put Celtic under loads of pressure defensively. Although they have had shots, and Joe Hart's had a few saves, but they've all been comfortable. They look dangerous for those corners. They're wicked. The corners
it's remarkable, isn't it?
Joe Hart.
As you've been saying, James, he is shooting. Luis Alberto is shooting from, I think, every corner he's taken.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love to see it. See, when I watch the young kids playing, I always say if I'm near it, whether it's for my son's team or against, I'll just say whoever's taking the corner, just shoot, just have a shot. So he's doing that because the power and the whip that he's getting on that is incredible.
Yeah, remarkable to watch. So now Celtic have had the opportunity, James, to have a good look at Lazio in the first half. Are you expecting them to be a bit more aggressive going forwards now?
Yeah, I think that there is opportunity for when the ball comes to Liam Scales, probably particularly Liam Scales. I don't know if it's the way that Lazio have set up, but Paulo Bernardo is on. There are players around him, and we know that Liam Scales can play the pass. If Scales and Carter-Vickers can obviously at times they have to go to Johnson and Taylor, of course they do, because they need to keep the ball moving, but there is opportunity to fire that ball in a straight pass into Bernardo, into Matt O'Reilly, where they can maybe pop it off or round the corner and then get at the Lazio backline. James Forrest put in a wonderful cross with his left foot, and there was 4 Celtic players in the box, but not one of them goes and tries to win the header. It's a great ball, begging to be attacked. But maybe that's just not the makeup of the Celtic players. You're looking at Kyogo, Yang, are they the ones that are going to go and be really aggressive with cross balls that are in the air? But you still need someone to go and try and put a bit of pressure on. I expect Celtic to maybe look to get that ball into the midfield quicker and try and exploit Lazio when they commit their bodies forward. I have to say they have looked really good in the counter-attack. When Celtic do commit, Greg Taylor getting high up the pitch, there's a gap, they just do it quick and get in behind, and when they get into the areas we've already spoken about, they're not offering a great deal, but they've looked dangerous to get into those situations, but without really creating like great chances we think they really should score, apart from probably Felipe Anderson, maybe Guendouzi as well with his header.
We touched earlier on the bench. As you look at that as potential routes for Celtic to win this game, David Turnbull, of course, on a good goal-scoring run domestically. Has not been prolific. Mikey Johnson, of course, an attacking threat as well, just back in the team. Are you anticipating changes fairly quickly, or do you think Brendan Rodgers will just go with what he has for now?
I think that he'll go with what he has for now, knowing that, you know, what I'm speaking about, can someone, you know, play that risky pass and go and try and create something. Mikey Johnson certainly comes into that category in the higher area, and David Turnbull without doubt comes into it, because he wants to go on the ball, he wants to, you know, play that killer pass, he wants to take shots from distance, he wants to score goals. So yeah, I think that is a potential, and O brings the physicality that Kyogo doesn't. So it might be a case of bringing O on at some point, dropping Kyogo a little bit deeper to try and really get in behind that Lazio midfield, because if they can, then Celtic can cause Lazio problems.
What have you made of Yang, Fatty?
Yeah, I prefer watching him on the left, Tom, if I'm being honest. I think that he seems more comfortable playing on the left. He's taking too much time, too many times in the game where you don't have it. You heard Liam Scales before the game saying that the intensity is so high. A couple of times the ball comes into him from a throw-in, he blindly turns, opens his body, the ball's taken off him. There was one at the edge of the box where he tries to step into Felipe Anderson and the ball just rolls away from him into Ravella. So yeah, I think that you need to see a little bit more, but I would say that the front three of Celtic have been starved really of any kind of service to go and really impact the game.
I noticed UEFA had just put up a little, it was all up earlier as well, but that's just a quick reminder. Joe Hart today, Tom, becoming the first English goalkeeper to reach 50 UEFA Champions League appearances from group stages through to knockouts. The top three being Hart on 50, David Seaman 34 and Fraser Forster 16. Wow. So pretty remarkable that Celtic have supplied two of the,
that is astonishing.
The three who have appeared most English goalkeepers in the Champions League.
Oh, well, I think Joe Hart, majority wouldn't have been for Celtic.
Well, no, obviously. But yeah, I mean, he's racked up a few in the last couple of seasons.
He has.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. Anyway, clean sheet thus far for Hart. Can Celtic keep that up? Can they find something at the other end of the park? Full live second half commentary coming up right now from the Stadio Olimpico. We're live here on Sportsound on BBC Radio Scotland with our commentary team of James McFadden and Liam McLeod.
You're talking about Fraser Forster. He was magnificent here 4 years ago. In fact, he was magnificent in both matches against Lazio, who kick off the second half in their light blue shirts, white shorts and socks. Celtic all in black, going from left to right in the second half, are the Scottish champions, as they did 4 years ago in the Europa League. Olivier Ncham scored that very late winner to seal their place in the knockout stages of that tournament. They've got an early free kick here for a foul over on the left-hand side. I think it's on Bernardo, who's just been helped back to his feet by the referee. A reminder, Celtic have to win both their remaining group matches to stand a chance of finishing second or third. The trouble is, they haven't won two successive Champions League group matches since November 2007, when they beat Benfica and Shakhtar Donetsk in Glasgow. And they've gotten away from the free kick there, and it's Lazio picking up with Luis Alberto, slipping it out to Marisic on this near side. Gets it back from Felipe Anderson, driving at Yang, who's the covering player for Celtic. He's done really well in the end as the South Korean. He's found O'Reilly as well, and Celtic get it clear, but Forrest losing out to Latari over on that far side. That looked promising from a Lazio point of view. Celtic holding their collective breaths a little bit there, and Yang was the unlikely defender, and he did a really good job.
He did, and he had to, because it was a great run from Lazare, and Yang had to match it, and he did really well. And when he gets into the box, you're thinking, don't put a tackle in, don't give anything away. Such would be the case for Celtic so often in the Champions League, but he defends it really well. Not only that, he keeps the ball and finds one of his teammates. Celtic have a chance to break, and it breaks down when the pass is slightly overhit to James Forrest.
And breaks down for Lazio this time. Lazare looking for Guendouzi over on that right hand side. He goes out instead for a Celtic throw-in. Scottish champions looking again just to bed themselves into the match in the second half. Their record in Italy, it's their 14th visit. They've only won once, and it was that one here against this opponent. Their first and today only success on Italian soil. As their most famous European day came against Italian team in Internazionale in that European Cup win in '67. Scales collects and squares it to Carter Vickers. Into this near side, poor ball, but it comes off Felipe Anderson and out for a throw-in to Celtic on this near side. They've struggled in the Champions League in recent years. Quite clearly, that win at Anderlecht in 2017 is their only win in the last 17 away games in this tournament proper. The Scales hits it long, looking for Yang. Marisic with the block, but it might come O'Reilly's way here. He's got it at the edge of the box. Rolls it to Kyogo inside the area on the right foot. Shoots just wide. So close. Wrong side of the left-hand post from Kyogo Furuhashi. But that's got the Celtic supporters very interested now. It's just wide. You were just expecting that to hit target. He does it so often. Yeah, and it's brilliant, and it's given exactly what Celtic need to start this second half, that they can have a threat. Yang does brilliant initially. O'Reilly, I thought he was going to take the shot on. Kyogo had actually probably made his run a little bit too wide, but he manages to shift the ball and get his shot away through the legs. Just goes inches by the post. Oh, Scales thought about making the challenge, changed his mind. Now Lazio come down the right. Scales is in trouble here. Twisting and turning on the right. The cross ball comes in, but it's been taken away from Luis Alberto. And it's gone behind for a Lazio corner. Sure what Celtic player got the final touch, might have been McGregor. And it's going to be a corner over on that right-hand side for Luis Alberto, as McGregor actually got there just ahead of Tati Castellanos. And Lazio have a corner from that other side. So Luis Alberto will be swinging it in, but he's going to be an outswinger this time. From the Lazio right as they attack the goal to the left, the Curva Nord end of the Olimpico. In it comes. The header was relatively cleanly won, but it's high over the crossbar, and it all comes to nothing. In the end up was Hila. I think he got his head to it. It's high over the bar, and it stays Lazio 0, Celtic 0.
It's another wicked delivery, but it's just too far out. It is a good leap and a good chance to have a good contact, but never troubling Joe Hart from that position.
Lazio in a much better position than Celtic in the group, thanks to that 1-0 win over Feyenoord last time out. So Rovelas talked himself into the referee's book. It's the first Lazio player to receive a yellow card tonight. That's bowled back the way to Scales, who squares it to Carter Vickers. Now with Johnston back to the American. Carter Vickers pirouettes away from Castellanos. Now McGregor out to Johnston and back to Carter Vickers, who slips it forward to McGregor. He turns it to Scales, left-hand side of the D of his own box. And then out to Greg Taylor. Taylor with a low ball forward to Kyogo. First time out to Forrest on the far side. Lays it back in field for Bernardo. And he turns it back into his own half for Scales. Now it's McGregor. And now it's Carter Vickers. You just feel there's a game here for Celtic to win tonight.
Oh, without doubt. You know, they've looked so comfortable on the ball. They've had opportunities, they spoke about it at half-time, maybe to play the ball into Matt O'Reilly. When it doesn't come in, he's got his arms up because he knows that that he's under pressure, there's players around him, but that's always going to happen. But he's confident he can deal with it. But this pass play has been excellent.
Forrest down the left, gets the ball in, Yang's at the back post, heads him inexplicably away from goal, and Lazio clear. Well, I was fully expecting a diving header at Providel's goal there. He's obviously trying to tee up a teammate, but he's in behind the defender, and it stays 0-0. A real opportunity missed for the Scottish champions there.
Oh, it wasn't half. What a ball, and it is. I think it's Forrest on the left foot, deep delivery, Yang running in, and I'm the same as you. I'm expecting him just to head that towards goal. I think he's trying to head it back for Kyogo, who's maybe making the run for a square pass. Is slightly behind him. But that is a glorious opportunity for Yang to go and put Celtic ahead.
How important will that miss prove to be come the conclusion of business this evening in the Italian capital? It's with Forrest wide on the left-hand side, moving back towards his own half. Passes it back to Scales, he goes back to Hart. Will be extremely keen to keep a clean sheet this evening. They've only kept 13 clean sheets in their 70 Champions League matches of Celtic. And it's given away by Yang to Guendouzi, and now it's with Rovella left of the centre circle. Back to the Frenchman, wearing the number 8 for the hosts. Again, the Lazio fans wanted that ball played forward, it went back the way instead. There's Patrick, slipping it to Gila. Then out to this near side for Marisic, down the line for Felipe Anderson, back to Luis Alberto. Clips it forward for Castellanos, holding off Scales on the turn. Goes full 360 degrees, shoots from distance, blocked by Carter Vickers. Rovella picks up, it goes back into the centre circle for Patrick. Takes a touch and rolls it low. Out to the right-hand side for Lazzari. Out to Guendouzi on the right, taking on Scales. Scales with the challenge. Lazio with the corner. 0-0, 53 on the clock.
It's better from Lazio, you know, a bit of control of the chance. Castellanos, brilliant striker play, just pins Liam Scales, chases it down. He's taking a touch as if he's going to step on it. And if he hits it there, I think he's got a chance of troubling Joe Hart. He takes another touch and it's blocked, but then they work it again, Lazio, and recycle it. Another corner from the other side, so it'll be an outswinger, but they did get the first contact on the last one.
Lazio's 6th corner of the evening. The referee's just having a chat with a couple of players at the edge of the Celtic box as Luis Alberto prepares to take the corner. As James was saying, outswinger with the right boot coming up from the former Liverpool man. The line of players to the left-hand side of the D, they make the run into the box. The cross comes in and it's headed high and wide there. What an opportunity that was, and he's beating the turf in frustration, and you can understand why. It's Castellanos who has only scored the one goal this season, man leading the line, and he's seriously annoyed with himself because it's nowhere near the target, and Celtic have dodged a bullet there. It stays 0-0.
They haven't half. I mean, he makes a run from the edge of the box, the space just opens up. It's a good delivery again. Maybe he's just running a little bit too fast and too eager to get on the end of it. If he slows himself down a little bit, he might be able to get a better contact, and ultimately probably just gets just a little bit too under the ball for him. But it's a huge opportunity again, no surprise. Incredible delivery, and if you want a chance like that to fall to anyone in your team, it's a striker, and he can't hit the target with it.
Well, the one thing you would say about that, Ciro Immobile is probably wheeling away in celebration rather than beating the turf in frustration, as Castellanos was. It's out for a throw into Celtic over on that left-hand side. 10 into the second half. Taylor takes, throws it back to McGregor. Low ball into his own half, into the centre circle for Carter Vickers, who plays it short to Johnston, and then forward to McGregor, who was back to Carter Vickers. Short ball for Scales, lofts it forward with the left, asking too much of Forrest, comes right through to Patrick, turns it out to Lazzari, keeps it in play with a head, nods it infield, but only to Celtic's benefit, but Bernardo can't get an attack going, and it's all the way back here with Providel, the Lazio keeper. He bowls it out to that right-hand side. And then there's a foul given away over there by Celtic, and the referee's coming over to sort it out. It's James Forrest who's clipped Lazzari.
Yeah, Lazzari steps inside him, and James Forrest just, it doesn't even dangle his leg. It's just there, and he goes over it, and he's rolling about. He gets the foul. I'm not so sure there was too much in it for him to be down for as long as what it was.
They're not big goal scorers, Lazio. They don't concede too many either, albeit 2 to Salernitana at the weekend. Saw them lose as Luis Alberto picks up in the attacking third, but his pass is cut out by Callum McGregor, who's having to run out to this near side under pressure from 2 in blue and white. He finds Carter Vickers in his own box, does really well, nicks it up onto the right-hand touchline for Johnston. Up for O'Reilly. Battling with him though is Ravella, who wins it back momentarily. Celtic get it clear. It's in the middle of the pitch. Gendozi couldn't quite find Isaacson. Scales puts it out for a Lazio throw-in, level with the edge of the centre circle on the right-hand side for the Italians. Back into their own half now with Patrick. He's going to turn it out to the right-hand touchline, and the race is on for Lazzari down the right-hand side. 3 in Lazio colours in and around the box. Back to Gendozi, turns it into the midfield for Ravella, and now with Luis Alberto. Right-footed low ball, left-hand side, Marisic, level with the edge of the D of the Celtic box. Cross cut out by Yang. It breaks to Felipe Anderson's former West Ham player. Back to Mario Gila, who works a 1-2 with Luis Alberto, who's skippering Lazio tonight with Immobile still on the bench. Not sure he'll be on the bench for much longer. Lazio unable to make the breakthrough, 0-0. Clipped ball out to the left-hand side for Taylor. Taylor up against Gendozi, knocks it into the halfway area, but Bernardo couldn't get onto it on the stretch. I actually wonder how long Brendan Rodgers leaves it as well. It's 0-0, so you don't want it to be pushing too many buttons at this stage. He does have David Turnbull on the bench as a possible option, having a fine season despite limited game time. Gendozi has it right of the Celtic box, gets the cross in towards Castellanos, nods it back to Felipe Anderson, passes it back to Luis Alberto, but Bernardo's there. He showed too much of it to the Portugal under-21 international on loan from Benfica, and Celtic hammer it clear deep into Lazio territory. It's 0-0 in the Olympico.
Yeah, you want to see more of Paulo Bernardo on the ball, but he actually does, a lot of good stuff off the ball. He seems to get into positions where he can win the ball back or get his body in and buy a foul. It's just that, you want to see him and O'Reilly both, trying to get at that back line of Lazio.
Lazio giving it away in the midfield. Celtic have a few forward for this one. O'Reilly driving towards the box, gets it to the overlapping Yang. First time ball back, cut out by Felipe Anderson, who did a really good job. And Celtic have their first corner of the evening just before the hour mark in Rome.
It's good play, and it's exactly what you want to see. Matt O'Reilly running to that defence. Kyogo makes the run inside, Yang on the outside, and he's just going for the cutback to try and pick one of those two out because it's the only target he has. But again, it's the speed of the counter, the decision making in Celtic now of a corner, not blessed with great height or aggression, but if you get Scales and Carter Vickers there that can go and win it.
He's taking it short, O'Reilly to Yang, now with McGregor. McGregor left foot clip ball back into the penalty area. Scales goes up but can't get there, and it sails behind for the goal kick. So Celtic with an attacking opportunity there, but they don't make the best of it, and it stays Lazio 0, Celtic 0. Goal kick to the hosts.
Yeah, they're working it short to try and draw some Lazio players out of the box because their targets are, Carter Vickers and Scales. Liam Scales is clearly the one that's to peel round the back and try and pick him out. And he's in a good position. He probably just gets up too early, tries to hang there to get the ball, and it just goes beyond them. But I can understand them trying to be creative from these situations because they will always be, outnumbered in terms of height.
Felipe Anderson's got some space to run into here, left-hand side, moving in field. Little low ball, slides it through. Chance Isaacson, it's just wide. What an opportunity it was. He's caught it just outside the 6-yard box. Fabulous ball through. It was, and Isaacson on the left peg with a low effort was past the right-hand post. Stays nothing each. We've played an hour as the time hits 8 o'clock in Rome, and it's going to be a double change for Lazio. I mentioned him a moment ago, Ciro Immobile, who is the record goal scorer at this club. He scored his 200th actually against Feyenoord in the last match day, and it's no surprise to see him coming on, the veteran. And they're also bringing on Pedro the man who scored the winner at Celtic Park on match day 2. Felipe Anderson's coming off. And the other change is Castellanos. So, 2 proven war horses coming on for the Romans, Immobile and Pedro.
Proven winners that know what it takes, you know, to get goals in crucial situations. And Pedro especially with his guile.
Here's Celtic coming forward. Johnston, who's just come on as well, just in the midst of all that. He's driving down the left-hand side, but he can't get past the defender. And it's going to be a free kick in the end for a foul and Guendouzi by the looks of things. Johnston, who's just come on for James Forrest, just when we were watching Immobile and Pedro come on. So Johnston immediately involved there, James. It was a terrific run from him.
Yeah, it was. He picks the ball up, edge of the box, he makes his way in, twisting and turning and trying to create a bit of space. And then the ball does come to Guendouzi in the end because he's outnumbered Mikey Johnston. Again though, for me, Paulo Bernardo wins the ball. Guendouzi goes down, Lazio get the foul and take the pressure off. But yeah, Mikey Johnston, I think he's been doing well when he's playing for Ireland. Not had too many opportunities for Celtic so far, but certainly, you know, his loan spell last season would have gave him great confidence, and he'll come on and you know, have that almost carefree attitude, that style that we know that he brings, and taking people on and trying to create, and it's just such a different problem for Lazio to have to deal with now.
Yang on this near side is fouled. It's going to be a free kick to Celtic on the near side touchline, about level with their 18-yard line. We've seen Pedro coming on there. I mean, we all know about Pedro and his fabulous spells at Barcelona and Chelsea in particular. At Barcelona, this is a guy, he's got 3 Champions League winners' medals, a Europa League winners' medal, he's 5 La Ligas, 1 English Premier League title, a World Cup and a European Championship. It's not bad.
Nah, it's all right. It's all right. But
sure,
look,
they're on his CV.
But that's what I mean when him coming on. Pedro, and throughout those successes and on the CV, he's popped up with big goals at big moments for his team as well. He's a big game player. He's someone that can, you know, produce moments of magic, moments of quality. Of course, he's getting a bit older, but you only need to look as far back as the game at Celtic Park where he comes on up really well, great header, and wins a game for his team. So, yeah, I'm sure that, you know, Brendan Rodgers won't be delighted to see that Pedro's on, because he has that intelligence to pick up positions and make things happen. 36 these days, but he had the pleasure to play in 2 of the finest footballing teams I think the world's ever seen. The Spanish national team and that Barcelona side under Guardiola in particular, as Celtic pick up with Taylor down the line. Johnston, lovely spin. It's an early ball to the edge of the box, but it's going to be knocked away by Gila and picked up by Luis Alberto, who's looking for Immobile. He's got the run on the defender. It looked like Carter Vickers blocks the pass coming through to him though, and Celtic have it back with McGregor in the centre circle. Just before those changes, Celtic had that opportunity for Kyogo as he fired wide of the left-hand post, and it's the closest Celtic have come to scoring. Yang was in behind as well, so this is a game where Celtic are getting in behind that Lazio defence. Not happening often, but they have proven they can get in behind it. Yeah, and Mikey Johnston comes on, brings something different. You know, the first time he gets it, he's dribbling at people there. He gets a little trick on the byline, the touchline far side, and then gets a cross into the box. So he is bringing something to the team. There's Pedro picking up midway inside the Celtic half. Gets it back immediately from Ravella, back into the centre circle. Patrick to the right for Lazzari. Down the touchline for Isaacson, who turns infield, moves into a central area, trying to get some space, fires it into the feet of Immobile, who's on the turn, but eventually smothered out of it is Ciro Immobile. 4 Celtic defenders around him. And that's good play by Greg Taylor just to take the pressure off, and slips it to his left for O'Reilly. He'll win the throw. No, it's gone out off him last, says the assistant over there. Lazio throw in. 65 played, 0-0. Sarri clearly not happy. He's made those changes around the hour mark. The final third of the match as Immobile slips it to the right. The dummy from Guendouzi, Isaacson's cross, headed away by Scales. Johnston will try and get onto it. It's an awkward bouncing ball for him. He's gone down, no free kick. Isaacson picks up, down with the corner flag. High ball into the penalty area. There was a
attempted bicycle kick by one of the Lazio men at the edge of the box. It was Luis Alberto, but he doesn't get any real contact on it, and it goes behind for the goal kick, and it stays nothing each.
No, but if anybody can do it, it's him. He just doesn't get the contact. He's got a lot of time to see the ball coming over. Interestingly, I think he was holding his hamstring as he get back up, so maybe he can't do it.
There's Yang, the referee's blown his free kick, and it's going to be his whistle for a free kick. It's going to be a Lazio free kick. Ravella was the man brought down by O'Reilly. And this is going to be left of the centre circle. Remember to come later, Ross County St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership. Full commentary of that one to come from Dingwall. County 10 without a win against third place St Mirren, who, if they can pick up all 3 points, we move to within 3 of second place Rangers going into December. There's Ravella for Lazio, turning it back to Patrick. Then Guendouzi picks up out to the touchline. And Lazzari taking on Johnston, and now Isaacson moving in field. Slips it to the left, Marisic in the inside channel at the edge of the Celtic box, invited to shoot, which he does, but it goes well wide, or well over, and that's going to be a goal kick to Celtic. We're heading into the final quarter of this one. Lazio 0, Celtic 0, and as much as this would have been a good result for Celtic at one stage in this tournament, looking at the fixtures, had they beaten Lazio at home, had they done the business in their home games, particularly that home one against Lazio, which they led in, 0-0 would be a fabulous result out here.
Oh, absolutely.
They need to win.
That's the frustration, because they could have won these games, and it's games where they've shown they can compete and they can get results, but you know, they're in a drawing position, they lose a game against Lazio, they're winning, they draw against Atletico Madrid. And that is the frustration, because if they win those games, as you say, they come here and play the exact same way. And then it forces Lazio to have to come and attack, and maybe leaves more gaps. Lazio are, obviously, they want to win the game, and they're trying to win the game, but they're not over-committing players forward and leaving gaps for Celtic to exploit.
No, because they're still in a battle with Feyenoord in particular to get into the last 16. I mean, Celtic have that opportunity as well. If they can produce a 2-goal victory this evening, they'd settle for a 1-goal victory and keep them in the fight for third. Atletico Madrid are in Rotterdam. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Celtic need the Spaniards to win that one. There's a sliced clearance by Gila down the near side. He's going to get back onto it himself, though. Nicks it to Ravella, but his pass goes straight to McGregor, but his pass goes straight to Patrick, and eventually comes back to Providel, who can't control, and Celtic have a corner. Just little moments like that. The under-the-weather Providel, he was in his bed with flu yesterday, concedes a cheap corner, and Celtic will make a change. They're going to take Bernardo off, and they're going to put on So, a real signal of intent from Brendan Rodgers, that one. Celtic try and hunt down a victory here in the Italian capital, and they can start that process with this corner, James McFadden.
Yeah, and it is. It looked like a bit of nervousness from Gila at the start, and then they can't deal with it. Overhit pass to Providel and goal, can't control it. Now they have an extra target in there, and that physicality to go and hit. Can he have an instant impact?
Matt O'Reilly, the socks roll down to his ankles, takes an outswinger with the left, and it comes. Carter Vickers wins the header, but it's a comfortable take really for Providel, who holds on. A little bit more power in the header might have caused the big Italian keeper more of an issue. It stays Lazio 0, Celtic 0. We're heading towards the final 20 of 90.
That's a great delivery, and Carter Vickers shows great strength to go onto it, but it's almost always going behind them, so to generate the power is difficult. I think the attempt that he has is a really good one, considering the situation he found himself in. But just looking at, Kyogo will be the one that drops deeper.
Here's Johnston on the counter for Celtic, rolling it out to Kyogo and Yang waiting in the middle. It's passed back to Johnston. Johnston level with the edge of the D, slips it to winds up the shot. It's a comfortable take for Providel, but it's another effort on target, this time Oh Hyun-gyu with it, and Providel holds on to the low shot.
Yeah, and it is positive. I think there might be a slight deflection in the shot as well, maybe not, but it's a header a minute ago and now a shot from the edge of the box, and Celtic, with that change, could that be the difference? I kept saying in the first half, can they get the advanced players, Matt O'Reilly, Paolo Bernardo, on the ball to then get at the back line instead of going straight there where Lazio aren't really moving and they can recover. So maybe Kyogo being that deeper one will allow that to happen.
Guendouzi fouled by O'Reilly over on the far side. There's a shoulder charge and the referee gives Lazio the free kick. He's going to book Matt O'Reilly as well. Yellow card for the Celtic midfielder. And Lazio have a free kick in an attacking position over on that far side, just a foot or two away from that touchline over there on the east side of the stadium. And Isaacson is one of two players over it. An opportunity here for the hosts. 0-0 it remains. A good result, but not the result Celtic need. Lazio with the free kick into the box, comes to the back end of the area, and Immobile steals himself with the shot, which he does, and it's blocked. Out for a throw into Lazio. Immobile thought about taking it quickly himself, but he's going to leave it for one of his teammates instead.
I tell you, I mean, Yang hasn't been in the game in terms of getting on the ball and taking people on, making things happen, but defensively he's been absolutely outstanding this second half.
It was he who blocked Immobile there. Here is Ravella picking up in the midfield, rolling it back to Patrick, and out to that right-hand side for Lazzari. Ball down the line for Isaacson, under pressure, forced back towards the halfway line. He shifts it back to Patrick, who goes right to left of the circle for Hila. And out to Marisic, wide in the left. Less than 18 to play of the 90. Again, Luis Alberto just having a little feel at the hamstring there on his right leg. He passes it infield for Ravella, looks up, long ball, looking for Immobile. Johnston heads it half away. O'Reilly can't get back onto it as he tried to do a bit of defensive work. Immobile out to Marisic on the left, encouraged by the fans to get a move on as Johnston gets between the man and the ball. Looked like it might have been a free kick for Johnston, but it's gone behind for the goal kick. Lazio claim that was a corner. Goal kick only, and Scales has it. He plays it short to the left for Taylor. More European action to come on Thursday in the Conference League. Koyeko Helsinki against Aberdeen. It's a 5:45 kick-off. The Dons already out though of the tournament. And then it's Rangers against Aris Limassol, 8 PM at Ibrox in the Europa League. Rangers win that, they will be going through their group. Just have to wait and see if they finish first or second. Celtic can still go through, but they need to win this game. It's 0-0 in the Stadio Olimpico, and it's Yang on this near side for Celtic. Others arriving in support. O's in the middle with Kyogo. Over on the far side's Johnston, but Yang goes back the way into his own half for Carter Vickers, and now Scales left of the circle. Ball forward to O'Reilly, and now Taylor out to the touchline for Johnston. Midway inside Lazio territory here. Johnston back to Taylor, then back to Scales, who was back to Carter Vickers. They've moved it from left to right. It's with Johnston now. Johnston out to Yang. Under pressure from Marisic, turns it infield for McGregor. Across the halfway line goes the Celtic skipper. He rolls it with the left out to Johnston. Taylor is ahead of him. Johnston moves infield instead. Short to McGregor. McGregor out wide left for Taylor. Johnston supporting again. Taylor has it. Decides to pass it back to McGregor at walking pace. Infield for Johnston. Everyone bar Joe Hart's in the Lazio half here. It's Kyogo. Celtic trying to burst through the gears. It's Johnston out wide right of the box for Yang. Trying to take on his man. It's a low ball for O inside the box. Tries to shoot. Blocked. Corner. Comes off Mario Hila. Really good build-up play by Celtic. They were patient and they got themselves into that attacking position. And Oh Hyun-gyu wins the corner.
That's excellent. As you say, patient. Mikey Johnson got a chance to maybe take someone on. He refuses it. He goes back, keeps the ball. They work it wide. And it's a nice little bit of play. And O does well to get the chance to get his shot away, but it's well blocked.
O'Reilly's corner's headed away by Guendouzi. Now it's McGregor. Cushion header midway inside the Lazio half. He finds Johnston, back to Taylor. Taylor stepping forward. It's a long ball, looking for O'Reilly on the near side. O'Reilly wins the header, but he can only head it straight to Isaacson. One back brilliantly by Yang. Yang taking it to the byline and just gets away from him and goes behind for the goal kick, and it will stay 0-0. And it's Yang Hyun-jun's turn to start hitting the surface in frustration. Lazio 0, Celtic 0. Celtic have just under 15 minutes plus stoppage time to win this game of football. If they do, they'll keep their European hopes alive for at least another couple of weeks. Pair of wins, and they'll be looking at the very least European or Europa League football. They would absolutely take that. Brendan Rodgers spoke about that before a ball was kicked in this competition this season, that third would quite clearly be tangible progress on last season, but they're running out of time.
Yeah, I think that, you know, every year we keep saying about Celtic, the record has to get better in the Champions League and they have to do better. But every year the aim is to progress into the last 16, get through the rounds of the Champions League, but at the very least go into the Europa League, have that third spot as a minimum. So if they fall behind, yes, I would say it's a disappointment, but to think that they're actually still in with a chance of getting that from where they've been, it's quite remarkable. But they're going to have to find a way to actually test Providel in goal. They're going to have to find a way to look like they can score that goal that will give them the victory that keeps their hopes alive.
Guendouzi for Lazio over on the right hand side, rolling it infield. Isaacson, it's away from O'Reilly but not from it's happening midway inside the Celtic half, but the referee has blown for something. It's going to be I think it's going to be a Celtic ball here.
The ball hit off the referee.
That's what it is. Uncontested drop ball for Celtic then, and it's dropped to Scales. Scales then squares it to Carter Vickers. 0-0 in Rome. Lazio are going to make another change in a moment. It's out to Yang on this near side. He just showed too much of it there to Maricic. He wins it back. Now it's going to be Pedro out to the left hand side for Luis Alberto. Immobile's ahead of him. Pedro's getting there too. Others arriving. It's a dreadful ball from Luis Alberto. I think he's done. Here comes Kyogo driving forward on the counter. Oh, he almost managed to slip it through to inside the area. Kyogo caught. No free kick, but there is a free kick for Lazio for a foul by Yang. Kyogo looks like he's struggling here. It's going to be a yellow card for Yang by the looks of things. Celtic look to hit in the counter after that woeful pass from Luis Alberto, who's been otherwise excellent tonight. And see how important a player he is for Lazio, and we know how important a player Kyogo is for Celtic. He's back to his feet now. The Celtic fans will be delighted to see as Ravella appears to come off. He's put himself about a couple of pots in the first half, but didn't really threaten Joe Hart's goal. And Danilo Cataldi will come on. Midfield players like for like change. He's from Rome, came through the ranks here, the 29-year-old. Over 200 appearances for the Lazio first team. He was a substitute at Celtic Park 4 years ago in the Europa League. And Cataldi's on the ball immediately on the right for Isaacson in the Celtic half. Infield to Guendouzi, into the centre circle for Luis Alberto. The clip ball forward is aimed for Pedro. It's too high for him though. It's now back with Carter Vickers, who finds Scales. Scales rolls it out to the left for Taylor, up the line for Johnston. Johnston trying to twist his way back out to the far side. He was actually being fouled there by Lazzari. It's going to be a free kick to Celtic. And Lazzari getting in Johnston's face. To be fair, Johnston giving it back as well. So the referee diffuses the situation. And it's now with Scales, out to the left-hand side. Taylor clips it forward into the Lazio half, couldn't find and it's headed out for a Celtic throw-in. We're in the 80th minute of the game. Lazio 0, Celtic 0. Celtic must win. We would need a 2-goal victory to stand a chance of last 16 Champions League football. But they'd absolutely take the Europa League playoff knockout round in February. They find a winner in the next 10 minutes. They're even less time than this to win the last time they were here. Can someone conjure up the spirit of Olivier and Cham tonight for them? So wins a free kick, barged in the back by Patrick, and that's just inside the Celtic half left of the centre circle. So the Celtic players, James, trying to steel themselves for a big push to try and get all 3 points tonight.
Yeah, and I think they've looked more threatening with being on the pitch and Kyogo dropping deeper. Mikey Johnston's come on and had an impact, and they are actually getting higher up the pitch, yet to create, you know, a clear opening. But they will be confident they can. I don't think they've been troubled too much But they have to obviously be mindful that, you know, Lazio have brought in some good players as well, and they will be dangerous, but they have to go for it.
It's a poor ball by Scales. He's giving it away. Now Lazio are coming bombing down the right with Lazzari. Others flooding forward in support. Right hand side of the box, it's pulled back. Immobile with the dummy. Luis Alberto shoots over the bar. He's gone down as well as he fires it over the Lazio number 10. What a great opportunity it was, and Liam Scales breathing a sigh of relief. He gave it straight to Lazzari, pulled it back onto the 18. Immobile dummied it, and then Luis Alberto with the goal in front of him shanks it over the bar, and it stays Lazio 0, Celtic 0.
That was a big chance. It was just a little bit off balance.
Here's Kyogo up the other end though. Guendouzi gets back. It's a good challenge. Kyogo had options right and left as well. Gives it away. Now it's Pedro. It's a heavy looking touch from Kyogo. Pedro just inside Celtic territory on this near side. Gets a runner from Guendouzi, who's on it, facing the box. Rolls it to the right hand side for Isaacson. Immobile's in the middle. Isaacson looking for some space. He shoots. It's deflected. Immobile's there and he scores! Ciro Immobile breaks Celtic hearts and has probably just knocked the Scottish champions out of Europe for the season. The man who has been so relied on for goals by Rome's blue and white comes in at the back post and slams it into the reverse right corner of the net, and it's Lazio 1, Celtic 0. It had to be Immobile.
Yeah, and look, eyebrows are raised when he wasn't in the starting 11, but that's what he does. You know, he is a goal scorer, and there's a huge slice of fortune, and the deflection just falls to him, but he anticipates the deflection's going to fall there, and when he gets into that position, it's a good finish. Joe Hart tried to dive across to stop it, but he just hits it over him into the side net, and Joe Hart stood with the ball. I don't know if he thinks something's happening here or not, but...
Well, having seen the replay, it didn't look as though there was anything wrong with the goal, and it's not the first time the name of Ciro Immobile has been belted out inside this stadium, and he was there to knock it high into the right corner of the net. And Celtic are once again left to rue those dropped points in Glasgow. They had to come here to win. They are now losing, and they're going to bring on Daichi Kamada, who's a Japan teammate of Celtic's Japanese contingent. It's going to replace Luis Alberto. And Kamada, who was one of the goal scorers from the penalty spot when his Eintracht Frankfurt side beat Rangers in the Europa League last May. And he comes on for the closing stage of the game, but now Celtic have 6 minutes plus stoppages to score twice, and you just don't see it happening. You could see them potentially scoring once and winning it 1-0. You don't see them repeating the 2-1 victory last time they were here this evening, and that is just classic sucker in the Champions League. At this level, that's what happens.
Yeah, I think, you know, you're right in the first point that they don't look like, or they haven't looked like they were going to get the goal, but they've been in positions where you think, well, maybe they could create a chance, but certainly to go and get 2 goals now is highly unlikely. And again, yeah, as you say, it just shows you that the Champions League, you get punished. You're playing against good sides, and they've got good players in there. Look, it's lucky in that it takes a deflection, but the skill is in Immobile reading that situation and gambling on it.
Scales have made a mess of it. Immobile's in again, and he scores again! Ciro Immobile scores twice in a couple of minutes. That one rubs salt in the wound as he finds himself space in the box. It was the Scales error. Immobile took the touch, shifted to his left, and rolls it low into the net to make it 2-0. It is lights out for Celtic in Europe. It's Lazio 2, Celtic 0. They have no answer to Immobile.
No, and again, it's the skill, the quality that he has. You know, Liam Scales goes to chance for the ball, Immobile jumps. There is a coming together. I'm not so sure there's enough in that to call it a foul, but The one thing is for sure, when he gets into this position, just inside the box, you fancy him to hit the back of the net. He just fakes on the right. Carter Vickers goes to block, drags it inside and slots it with the left foot beyond Joe Hart. What a sub to make, eh? Maybe he should have started.
Lazio's record goal scorer makes it 2-0 Celtic. We're still appealing there for a foul on Scales as Turnbull comes on for Yang for the closing stage of the game, but goals in 82 and 85 by Immobile. They are doing an official check here, but the referee, after the briefest of checks, points to the centre spot. Game on, and 2-0 Lazio on 86. It is a proper lesson, and Immobile doesn't wear the number 9, James, but he's a proper number 9.
Yeah, he is. He's had a fantastic record for Lazio. He just scores goals, doesn't he? And when you're bringing a player on like that, they huffed and puffed a bit in the first half. They didn't look like they were going to really threaten. And his first goal's opportunistic. That's a number 9 that sniffs out a chance. And when he gets it, he finishes it. The second one, you know, he does enough to put Liam Scales off. He then takes on Carter Vickers and slots it into the back of the net beyond Joe Hart. So yeah, he's shown his quality. And he has been, he's a legend around these parts. No wonder why. You can see that it's a huge 2 goals for Lazio, because as you said, you know, they want to qualify out of this group. They've got a chance now to watch the Feyenoord game, knowing that, you know, they've got a chance to actually win the group as well, which is incredible for them.
And he's scored his 202nd and 203rd Lazio goals tonight, Immobile. You can see the damage he does. 3 of those 203 have come against Celtic, 2 tonight. Pedro picks up and moves towards the edge of the centre circle. The flame has been flickering for Celtic in the Champions League this season. It's now been blown out officially. And draw wasn't enough for them. They're 2-0 down, and now they're faced with a dead rubber against Feyenoord, and Immobile might be in again here. He's on a hat-trick. Scales couldn't quite deal with it, but Turnbull's there at the edge of his box to turn it back to his keeper. Hart clears. The ref's actually blown for a free kick. One of the Celtic players was tripped to the edge of the area. It was Turnbull as he got it back to his goalkeeper, and the yellow card's been shown to Pedro, who's the offender. The final 2 minutes of the 90. But again, James, what you want to do when you look at a Champions League group, unless you're one of the top seeds, I suppose, is when you look at your fixtures, you look at the home games, you try and get 7 points, 9 ideally from your home games, and then try and plunder a point here and there on your travels. But the basic facts are that Celtic only taken 1 point out of 6 from their home games, so they're always up against it.
Yeah, I think that's crucial. You have to do well at home, and it's not. I know, as you say, it's not as though you look at the games and say, right, it doesn't matter who's in your group. You need to win two or three possibly home games. You obviously need to take account of who's in your group. But having, you know, watched all the teams, Celtic should have been taking more points at home. You know, in good positions in both games. They should have been taking points. They shouldn't need to come into the last 2 games knowing that they have to win both and hope that, you know, Atletico win both of theirs as well, and you're relying on favours as well as having to do the job yourself. So their home form's not been good enough. But likewise, you know, they've a 2-0, a 6-0 and a 2-0 away from home as well. So that's not good enough.
Here's Immobile battling for it in the box, but Carter Vickers is there. He finds Scales. Now it's with O'Reilly out to the left-hand side for Johnston. You just think back to the opportunities that Celtic have had in this second half. Kyogo and Yang and Johnston challenged by Marisic on this near side. It's out of the Lazio left back for a throw into Celtic. 3 minutes have been added on at the end here. Just 1 win now in 11 European away games for Celtic, losing 9 of them. It's not just in the Champions League. Across the other competitions they've taken part in over the last few years. It's going to be a throw-in over on the far side to Celtic, which Greg Taylor is over. And there'll be a frustration there because, I mean, Immobile's the difference. But Lazio don't look great shakes.
No, they don't. and that is the frustration. But again, it goes back to what I said at the start. It's all right saying, you know, you could have won, you should be doing better. You need to find a way to win, to do better, because Lazio aren't, they're no great shakes, but you're bringing on Pedro and Immobile, guys that can make a difference, that have made a difference.
Celtic have a corner which comes in, and then it's Carter Vickers attacking it on the 6-yard line, but he's put it wide. Probably just to been consolation. He attacked it with the right boot. It doesn't really make clean contact, and it goes past the right-hand post. There might be no great shakes, James, but they've 10 points from their 5 matches. It's enough to be sitting top of the group just now, ahead of that later kick-off in Rotterdam.
The thing is, they're not undeserving of the victory tonight. Celtic have performed well, haven't created too many clear-cut chances. Lazio didn't either, but they've made the changes and they've got their goals. It's not as though, you know, you can't say Lazio, because of what we're watching and how they play the game, they're not as good as we think they're going to be, but they're still a good team with good players, and they're still winning games and doing what it takes to get themselves in a position to win the Champions League group.
Celtic have it with Johnston over on the far side. We will reset now. Celtic, they're next up against St Johnstone on Sunday. With full coverage of the action across the weekend. We'll also have news of that Euro 2024 draw, which is on Saturday evening in Hamburg. And for Celtic, their European season is over. Even if they still have one match to play, it will be a dead rubber for them against Feyenoord in a fortnight. Kyogo turns it back to Scales. Scales out to the left-hand side for Johnston, attacking Guendouzi, moving infield to the edge of the box. He shoots for goal, and Providel forced to make the save. Down to the left, Johnston clips it back in. Providel comes and claims ahead of O, and it stays Lazio 2, Celtic 0, deep in stoppage time in Rome.
I think that might be a penalty for Celtic.
Well, the referee is surrounded by players just now. We're just getting a replay of it. It was the shot from O, and I think he has given Celtic a penalty here. He has given it. Tyler's a little slight push on O when Providel came to claim the clipped ball that came back in after the initial shot. So David Turnbull has got the ball in his hands, and Celtic have a penalty. It was Patrick with the foul, and the referee spotted it, and he's given Celtic the penalty and the yellow card for the Spanish defender. So, chance for David Turnbull to score a Champions League goal at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, the referee's claiming it's a strong forearm by the looks of the gesture he's making. Very, very little contact for me. I think Celtic are fortunate they've got that penalty kick. But as you say, David Turnbull's got a chance to score a Champions League goal, score an away goal for Celtic in the group stage for the first time this season.
Lazio fans booing. It's not really going to matter. There is an official penalty check going on at the moment, just to make sure that the Turkish referees made the correct decision. So it's not rubber stamped that Celtic are going to get this spot kick. We're well over the injury time now. There were 3 minutes added. The Lazio players are all over the referee, and Providel, the keeper, was pretty vocal there. Lazzari was there as well. The referee's in dialogue with his video assistant, and we will find out shortly. And he's going to come and have a look at it. So this might not actually happen in the end, and it would just sum up Celtic's season in Europe.
Yeah, I have to say, when I saw it initially, I didn't think there was a great deal of contact, and the referee was, you know, gesturing that it was a forearm across the back. I think there is a hand on the back, but I'm not sure how much force is actually in it. I think that for me is a soft penalty. It's not a penalty for me. It's not a penalty.
Yeah, the referee's down. He's actually got his finger on the screen. He's following the incident. And he's quite animated down there as he reviews this. Celtic 2-0 down. They're heading out of Europe. This isn't going to matter whether they get it or not. And he's seen plenty of replays. He comes back on, makes the sign of the telly, and no penalty. And there you go, Celtic's European season summed up in one incident, anticlimactic.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it initially, I thought very minimal contact. I know his arm is on his back, and I know people will be going, well, if he's giving them a little push, then that's enough, but not for me. I think it's just a defender trying to get tight to O tries to make the most of it, as you would. But for me, it wasn't a penalty, and I think that's the correct decision.
Well, Celtic conquered Rome 4 years ago. They haven't been able to repeat it tonight when they desperately needed to. We're well over the stoppage time, as I say. We're actually into a 7th minute, only 3 were added. I'm not sure how much longer the ref's going to play for. Owens a header, and then Mario Gila nods it out to the right, and that's it. Maurizio Sarri celebrates, the veteran coach. Down below us, Brendan Rodgers, hands in pockets, goes to greet his staff. Celtic are out of Europe on a game to spare, despite a dogged performance at times here in the Stadio Olimpico, and a few opportunities themselves, particularly in the second half. Kyogo just wide early on after half-time. Yang with a header, I'm not sure why he tried to hit it back rather than towards goal when he was in behind the defender, right-hand side of the box, but it was another chance which went amiss. But Lazio dominated lots of the periods of the game. Castellanos really should have scored. There were others who had chances. Isaacson, Anderson, Luis Alberto, all spurning opportunities for the hosts. And it wasn't until the veteran record goal scorer Ciro Immobile came off the bench that Celtic's officially out of Europe. The first finish was excellent, typical Immobile. They were both really fine strikers' finishes. The first one high into the right corner of the net. The second, he stroked it home after out-muscling Liam Scales and smashing it home low to make it 2-0. And Celtic, once again, are left looking back at a Champions League campaign of what might have been, left cursing dropped points in Glasgow and 3 defeats on the road. They just cannot win away from home in this competition. They've only managed it twice in the history of the Champions League when they've been in the group stage. They just cannot find a victory, never mind away from home at all. Right now, their Champions League group stage record after tonight is played 71, won 18, lost 41. Brendan Rodgers' record in group stage European matches as Celtic manager has now played 23. He's only won 4 of them. They need to reset and refocus and hope that they're back in the Champions League for another crack at it next season. But they can't even finish 3rd in this group anymore, because it finished here in the Stadio Olimpico. Lazio 2, Celtic 0.
Celtic